everybody, welcome to TFT, Tarot for Today, Divine Dabblings with
Oberon.
me, Banshee. And you know, if Bly is here, it's that time again. It's time to talk about where does it hurt. It's our Unhappy Hour show. And why am I enthusiastic? Because we're going to turn a lot of frowns upside down today, aren't we, Mr. O?
It's what we do here, and you know, it's amazing that we do it because we pull several cards for each of the elemental signs of the zodiac, and we're looking at what are those factors that are causing the hurt. This reading is timed for the fourth quarter of the moon.
So the reading will be good from this fourth quarter moon until the next fourth quarter moon when we'll see you again.
Right.
All right, so
another thing is, of course, this is a challenge to us because, like the happy hour where all cards are read upright, in the unhappy hour, all cards are read as reversed.
And also, this is a reading for the elemental signs of the zodiac, so keep that in mind as we start with
air signs.
Air signs.
Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. This one's for you.
Okay, Mr. O, you may shuffle and cut. And then we'll tell the air signs, where does it hurt? Don't worry, Bly's got your back. Remember, Bly says, the future looks brighter. All right, our first card is what is or will be making the air signs unhappy right now. Well, how about just being unhappy? No, it's the star reversed. And so there's a lot of pessimism. You know, there's a lot of maybe worries and anxiety related to dreams or goals, perhaps health issues. I guess we'll see how the cards lay. But clearly, you know, there is something that's causing some fear and anxieties about the future.
To the point, air signs may feel there is no hope or there is no future. They may feel they are literally at the bottom of a sense of whatever it was they were expecting.
And you know, I wouldn't be surprised at all if a lot of this doesn't stem from, you know, things going on in the greater society too.
Sure.
You know, wherever you live, whether there's high crime in your area or, you know, it's just a political factioning or there's wars going on, you know, depending on what part of the world you're in. So
economic downturns.
Yeah, exactly. So card 2, how will you be dealing with this unhappiness, or how are you dealing with this unhappiness? Yeah. Well, you know, I think
Three of Wands reversed.
with the Three of Wands reversed, we have a situation here where this anxiety, these fears that you have about the future are making it very difficult for you to make some long-range plans. And also maybe even to carry out the plans that you had. You feel this uncertainty, you know, this uncertainty may be dragging down your spirit to the point that you can't seem to, you know, that's how you're dealing with it. You're putting off and postponing things that you were hoping to do.
The dismal feelings may actually make you feel like you do not want to extend yourself at all at this time.
And clearly, if you're going through some health issues as well, you know, that could be holding you back too. You're waiting for test results or, you know, you're getting used to different treatment regimes, etc. So that could be playing into that too. I don't know why, but when I first saw the star, I thought maybe some of you might be going through some health issues at this time. Anyway.
Card 3. Why are our feelings justified, or in fact, are they?
It's the Empress upright.
Reversed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Duh. Sorry, guys, it's always reversed.
Sorry.
But that's interesting here, isn't it? Considering everything. And maybe this is a health or an emotional issue of some sort, I wonder. Because the Empress, of course, is all about the need for some self-care, some downtime. So maybe this fact, I think your feelings are justified because you realize you have to take care of you now above everything else.
And it may actually be true that you still, because of the nature of the cards, have doubts about how well you can do that. But that's where you're left. You are feeling right now that you have to do this no matter what it takes from you.
Wow. Can we turn this frown upside down? Let's see. I think the way to turn this frown...
It's the reversed Page of Wands.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The
That's
reversed Page of Wands, how to turn this frown upside down. I think here it might have to do with not being too disappointed in the fact that you can't carry things out right now. The way you have to look at this situation is everything happens for a reason. This doesn't mean your destiny will never happen or occur, but it's just delayed. It's just not now.
Another way to look at that reverse Page of Wands in this context, it could be saying too that you are just not really feeling that positive, and so you're going to really hold back a little bit. You're going to find that what you can do is just basically not commit to things right now. You're going to wait until maybe you feel good news is coming. So it's not necessarily about giving into your bad feelings, but it's maybe saying you're just going to kind of dig in where you're at right now and hang in there.
Yeah, it's not a time to initiate or start something new. And if you can accept that fact, you will be able to turn that frown upside down. Now, I know I focused a little bit on health issues because I see that possibility here, but it could really relate to anything. Let's go back and recap for the air signs and just say something is making you feel very anxious right now, very nervous about your future, whether this has to do with a job that you're kind of on the rocks with, or some goal or aspiration that you have that just you don't feel very positive about anymore, or your health.
It's really about you kind of looking at the sum of your life at this particular moment and not finding that there seems to be something good coming to you.
Exactly.
Remember, tarot is a snapshot in time, though. That is the biggest takeaway of all of this.
So you're dealing with this by you're dealing with this by not following through with things you had hoped to follow through on. You have to change up your plans. You have to be able to kind of pivot right now, whether, whatever the case may be. Perhaps here, in order to save your job or, your dreams or goals, you have to come up with a better strategy, something that has not been working for you. And as far as health matters go, until some things are resolved with your health, you may have to put off temporarily what you were hoping to do or accomplish.
Another thing about this card is I think it's sort of saying that you are also still considering pulling back, being unenthusiastic or not motivated. That's how you're dealing with it. You're maybe trying to present the idea that you didn't care anyway, or that others might feel that way, that you didn't care enough to really push forward, and so it's not a big loss to you. So it's sort of like saying a defense mechanism for yourself. Well, I didn't really want it anyways, or I wasn't really sure I wanted to put that effort forth. Card 3.
So card 3, how are you feeling? Why are your feelings justified? Well, I think it's because, you realize now that you have to take care of you first. You have to take care of whatever this is first. And, you've been feeling stuck. You've been feeling like things have not been moving. If this is something other than health, and if this is health, this is about taking care of the self right now.
As it relates to health issues, I think there's also the possibility that this could represent somebody who's a caretaker and who maybe has somebody else's concerns going on right now too, and that maybe that is also part of the diversion of, your energies and also your motivations. Did you just realize something?
Well, I just thought of another health concern here that some of you might be facing. For those of you wishing to start a family, maybe there's fertility issues that you are working on that has made you lose hope. You've had to kind of try to pivot and figure out what you're able to do about this. And your feelings are justified because maybe you've got some test results indicating there are some issues. So maybe IVF or some other kind of, treatments might be necessary. This is a possibility too. I cannot rule this out here. And ultimately what this is saying is things are on hold. How you can turn that frown upside down is by accepting the fact that you can't move forward at this time, but there's other things that you can do about this situation and revisit it when things are better, when you come up with a better plan or a workaround or got a health thing that's going to work for you, etc.
Because of the start and stop nature of these cards, I think this is saying ultimately you'll need to put things on hold and dig into yourself to find a level of patience that will help you feel calmer and give you a chance to kind of recoup and wait for the next thing.
Well, whatever the case may be, we wish you luck with this.
We do.
Air signs.
All right.
Now we're on fire signs. Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. This reading's for us for the month ahead, the fourth quarter ahead. Well, the moon phase ahead. Till next fourth quarter. My head. I need more coffee. I'm going to drink some. Okay, let me shuffle and then we'll see where does it hurt for our fire signs. All right.
Card 1. What will be making the fire signs unhappy right now?
No.
It's the Devil reversed. It may be that you're unhappy because you've realized to some degree things have not actually been going in the way you wanted, and now you realize that there is sort of a sense of a release, but you may be pondering what it was that were those conditions that were kind of holding you there, and maybe you're realizing that this is something that could happen again.
Well, it's a very interesting card here, fire signs, and there's a couple of different ways I could take this. One that really popped into my head is the fact that, you may be experiencing a release from something right now. But let me ask you this. How dependent were you on what you're being released from? How codependent were you? Let me throw the codependent word out there too, because maybe it's very hard for you to deal with this newfound freedom, this newfound release. For those of us who may be going through addictions of some sort, it's not an easy road. You might be off of alcohol or cigarettes or drugs or gambling or whatever the case, sex, whatever the case may be, whatever you were addicted to, obsessed with, overwork, workaholism. It can be really hard once you free yourself from that to stay that course, and you might be struggling a little bit. We all struggle, but this is what might be making you feel unsettled and unhappy right now.
So it could also be saying too that having realized you are needing to give up toxic behaviors or dependencies sort of is challenging to you, and it makes you feel a little bit unsure about where you're going.
And let me broaden this just a little bit to say that this could even be leaving a toxic work environment. Maybe that job was safe and secure for you, but you had to deal with hell to be there. So you decided to let it go, but now you have worries and fears about your future. All right.
So how will you be dealing with this, or how are you dealing with it?
Well,
And it's judgment reversed.
Go ahead, I'll let you go.
So the way you may be dealing with it is in realizing perhaps that you didn't really achieve the heights you wanted. You actually went the opposite direction. You may be feeling that you didn't understand or learn from these experiences, and or that you may be continuing to move into that area of bad judgments, bad behaviors.
You know, self-criticism hurts us a lot. And I feel here that, too, you might be a little bit hard on yourself now going forward. Maybe you're upset about the fact that you put yourself in this situation you had to free yourself from to begin with. Maybe you're being critical about, the stumbles you're making along the way. Don't be so hard on yourself. I think you're dealing with yourself in a rather hard manner right now, which isn't helpful. It's not helpful. Think more positive thoughts. Think about the fact that you can do this, that you've created this change for yourself, and that it is good for you. This is like you're almost missing the call for regeneration and growth and renewal, because you feel bad about where you were, and maybe you feel like it's going to be more of the same going forward because that's what you deserve. No, you don't.
It almost seems like the fire signs have gotten through or are getting through some really bad situation, toxic relationships or situations, and you are basically wondering if you did make the right decisions in moving yourself away, but also what is it that you really learned? Did you really learn what you needed to?
Card 3. Why are your feelings justified, fire signs?
And it's the sun reversed. And the sun reversed is mostly not a super bad card, but maybe the idea here is that you feel you just didn't really learn what you needed to. The sun is about illumination, and when it's reversed, maybe it's saying you're not sure you got the point.
It's funny seeing this card here because, as we know, it's not that bad a card in its reverse state as well. And so are your feelings justified? Why are your feelings justified? Well, I would say this. I would say that you realize that there were that you were limiting your success by staying in the position you had put yourself in. And you're realizing that now. It may have felt comfortable even if it was bad for you. Hey, some drugs, they uplift you, they do things for you. Gambling might have given you a rush you needed. The overwork might have gotten you kind of far in life. Whatever this thing is you freed yourself from was limiting you in some way. And you realized that it was the right thing to do, even though, you're being hard on yourself over this.
What you realize perhaps is that you weren't seeing everything you needed to see.
I like that too. Very good. And so, how do we turn it around? How do we turn that frown upside down?
That's
all right. That has a message.
It's the reverse Queen of Cups.
Get your heart together. It's not so much your head. Your head will come together if you get your emotions together. Don't wallow in this thinking that you're a bad person because of whatever you did here, or that you're not worthy, and get down on yourself and feel depressed over this. There's no reason to feel the sun won't shine for you again. It will. And so you really have to wrap your heart around this. Once you do that, once you realize that maybe things aren't as bad as you think they were, and that they will be much better now that you have liberated yourself, you'll be just fine.
Sometimes it is hard for people to understand if their emotional feelings are really valid or not. They may feel they're influenced by other people, other situations. I think this card is saying ultimately you may have to go through your own dark night of the soul, or whatever that is, to really come to understand where the emotional reality is for you. It may not be as bad as you think. It's mostly just about really trying to take care of your heart, protect your heart.
And maybe at this point, it's a good time for us to remind everybody we aren't counselors. But if you need counseling because things are really coming to a head and you're very depressed, don't hesitate to get some.
Yeah,
Get the
absolutely.
help
Affirm
you
that.
need. It's really, it's no shame in looking for support outside of yourself if needs be. Okay.
So let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. All right, fire signs. It's kind of a heady reading for you as well. It's as if you're liberating yourself from, well, what's getting you down is the fact that you had to release yourself, free yourself from something that was really entrapping you. Whether it was an abusive or a codependent relationship, a job that was very toxic, workaholism, different habits that were very bad for you, health-wise or otherwise, drug addictions, addictions of some sort. You had to free yourself from that, but it's a struggle. It's definitely a struggle.
If you're not free within, you're not free without. And so basically this calls for this investigation.
And so, of course, how are you dealing with it? Well, you're being a little hard on yourself. Maybe you feel you need to kind of, lay the smack down on yourself, but I don't think that's very good for you right now. Be less critical and judgmental of yourself. We all make mistakes. We all have patterns of behavior that often don't serve us well, or things in our life that we allow in that don't serve us well. So just get over it. And I'm not saying that in a flighty way. I mean, try to overcome that because you're better than this and you freed yourself, and there's a lot to be said for that.
There's a sense here really about time, and that time will heal things, and that maybe this is about letting things play out in time, that maybe you do feel like you didn't understand what you needed to, but in time these things will weigh in deeper and deeper.
And okay, why are your feelings justified? Well, you understand overall that maybe you were limiting yourself a bit. The sun wasn't shining as brightly for you by remaining where you were. And, maybe you feel doubtful that you can, even though you've liberated yourself, that this will lead you to the success you deserve. I think this is just, a way you're justifying being hard on yourself here. But I don't think it's valid necessarily. I think you can shine the light on what's going on here and realize, that this was the right thing to do.
Your feelings are justified for sure, but it's also about the idea of really allowing yourself that time to see more and more, that maybe what you weren't able to see before, which caused this, is going to change, and you will come to understand more as you see and know more.
So how can you turn that frown upside down? Clearly, by getting your emotions together, by not letting your emotions run away with you. And addictions if it's an addiction or a codependency, they have a way to grab onto you emotionally and affect you, making you, like addictions, certain withdrawals can make you depressed, can play with how you might get more agitated and stuff like that. Seek help if you need it, but also do what you can. Meditate, do some mindfulness training, whatever it takes to kind of get your emotions under control.
It may be that somebody who's not necessarily related to this situation at all, but represents somebody who is kind and good to you, somebody who you trust, might be somebody you could confide in and maybe just sort of seek a perspective there. All right.
On to the water signs. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. This reading's for you for the fourth quarter and beyond. Till next fourth quarter. Uh-oh. And of course, I never said in the beginning, we are always using the This Might Hurt Tarot deck for this by Isabella Rothman.
All right, water signs. What is or will be making us unhappy?
Well, it's the Hanged Man reversed.
He's a lumberjack, but he may not be okay.
That's an interesting one. What is your take on that? I'm curious.
What is or will be making you unhappy is maybe the realization that you weren't able to reach what you wanted, and maybe you feel it was a personal failing on your part. Maybe this is about saying you feel like you didn't measure up to something. You weren't able to meet the task, to make the required sacrifice, or to come to the needed understanding of some sort.
I almost feel here, well, that's interesting. I almost thought you were going to go my way, but you kind of diverted a little bit from what I'm thinking here, and that's fine. I think the Hanged Man reversed is saying, hey, I have a feeling that you're being called to get back out and do something that you may not feel you're ready for. You're not willing, like he said, maybe to make that sacrifice that was required. He said you missed the mark on that. I'm just thinking that maybe you weren't ready. You know, the Hanged Man in his positive aspect is up there hanging, trying to gain a better perspective, trying to understand, you know, and philosophize and figure out what's the right approach or way to go next. Where should they be putting their energy next? But in the reversal, I'm kind of feeling here, you're being called to act before you're ready to make this move, and it's causing you some concern. You're fearing failure because you haven't really had the time to get a better perspective on the situation you're involved in.
As it makes you downright unhappy, or seemingly, then it may be about personal relationships or personal goals or situations.
Exactly. So, how are you dealing or will be dealing with the situation? It's Justice, another major arcana, reversed. Justice. Well, you know, I think you'll be dealing with the situation in kind of a topsy-turvy way. You're really not sure of what's maybe morally, ethically, or responsibly. What's the most responsible way to navigate the situation? I have a feeling the situation involves other people. I'm just thinking in some way, whether this is a workplace dispute, whether this is some other type of thing going on with family or friends or in a relationship. There's just a lack of balance here, a lack of balanced movements. You're really not sure. And in a sense, you know, I worry here that you might take some steps or approaches like lying or covering things up that may come back to haunt you later.
In some decks, the cards Justice and Strength, 11 and 8, may be transposed and may be the other number, the other situation, but that's because there sort of is a key idea between them, and that is conviction. Conviction of your feelings, or conviction of your feelings to do something. And so when Justice is reversed here in this situation, you are not finding the conviction really, or finding it hard to find the conviction, but maybe you realize that this is what is necessary, but it's a struggle for you to be able to put force behind your words or your actions. Card 3, why are these feelings justified? And it's the 4 of Coins reversed.
Well, I think your feelings are justified because you realize you could lose something of value here. So I don't know if this is a financial situation or just like you might lose a valued friend or you know, have to cut ties with a business or a partnership, something like that. Something of value may have to be let go in this situation to restore maybe some balance. And, you realize there's something very weighty here going on that you're not ready to address. And so I do believe your feelings are justified.
These cards are very interesting because they all play to the idea about a sense of loss to some degree, or a sense of feeling something has to change or be given up and something new has to happen. And so with the Four of Pentacles reversed, are your feelings justified? They are, perhaps, but maybe you are feeling that, can you really find what you need to give up something? Can you give up whatever this is and let somebody else run with it, or let it go to some other point that it needs to go to? Maybe there's something here that really makes you feel proprietary and you haven't resolved your feelings about what you feel you own there.
We hold on to things too heavily sometimes. Mindsets, beliefs, patterns of behavior. I just wonder here with this Hanged Man reversed again, if, this is the problem. You haven't been able to think this through enough, and so you want to hold on to what you know, and maybe you have to trust the unknown at this time, the thing that you weren't able to get to the bottom of when, now that you are being called to take action when you're not ready.
Not only are your feelings possibly justified, but it may be saying you are in the position of having to really share to give up what those feelings are, maybe.
Oh boy.
So, how do you turn that frown upside down?
How indeed.
Can you? And it's the Wheel of Fortune, which is reversed. So the wheel.
Spin it, Mr. O. Spin that wheel.
How can you turn the frown upside down? Well, it's a wheel, so just spin it. There you go. That's your answer, Banshee. But no, I think what this is saying is, in order to understand or appreciate that, you may have to realize that, of course, life is a wheel of fate. Sometimes you're on top, sometimes you're not. You may have to be able to rationalize that this is the time you don't get exactly everything you wanted. Maybe you don't get hardly anything that you wanted. This is the time for you to realize that your time will come around again. You might need to wait, which some of that was implied with some of this.
Well, I think when we go to the recap, I'm going to make some other things clear about this card. But I feel here that, yes, Mr. O is right in a way that you must spin with the wheel. You have to realize that there's times that you're just going to have to go with the flow, whether you are ready or not. And you have to suffer the wheel of karma. And it's interesting here with Justice reversed, that the wheel is also reversed here, because these are two important cards of karma, whether they are upright or reversed. And as you can see with them reversed, it does seem as though things are stacked against you right now. But if you just ride it out, things will change ultimately and come back up again. But it depends on, again, the kind of character and integrity we show in riding out the bad times. Okay? So that's going to be really important for you here, water signs. No revenge, Scorpios. No bad behavior. We'll act it out. We must do the right things.
Is this our recap?
We're getting to it now. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, well, the first card, the Hangman Reverse, what is making us feel unhappy right now? It may be the idea that we realize we're having problems making change, understanding things that need to change, things of that sort.
Well, I think here that what's making us unhappy is this idea that you aren't prepared to make a move, choice, or decision because you really did, you're being called to do it before you've had time to really envision the right path, the right choice, the right way to go. And so you may try to fill in the gaps there. Unfortunately, how you may be dealing with this is maybe not in a very up and up sort of way. You may try to take an underhanded approach. You may try to lie. You may try to cover things up. You may try to not accept responsibility for something that you need to do. So that's not a good way to deal with
There's
that.
even a chance of maybe trying to force your truth, your perspective in the situation.
And, we hold on sometimes to things we shouldn't, things we need to let go of. And I think here that your feelings are, why are your feelings justified? Because you really were hoping to hold on longer and not have to make this move, choice, or decision at this time.
I'll go with that.
And ultimately, bad choice there could set you on a bad course. Bad judgment and doing things that are unethical or lack integrity could give you a bad outcome. But the way to turn that frown upside down is just to ride out the bad times. If you're being called out for anything, your best course of action, accept responsibility. Accept it and move on. Accept what karma's giving you and recognize that by doing so, you will be creating better karma for yourself going forward.
Go to the center of the wheel where you can kind of ride out and master the changes where they won't rock you so much. On the outer rim of the circle, the changes are more manifest.
Right. When you're just hanging on to that outer edge and flailing about, this justice shows that imbalance in a way, reversed. You can expect it not to go well. Find your center again. Find your moral center.
All right. Nice. I think we pulled that out for the water signs.
Earth signs. You ready? Are you ready?
Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn.
This reading's for you for this next moon cycle till next fourth quarter moon. Two of Pentacles. Let's hope that bodes well.
Are you obliged to read it reversed?
No. All right. I get to shuffle and cut for you. Let's see.
So thanks.
All right, after this reading, we will be doing one for
the world.
The world. We'll see where it hurts.
What's bugging the world?
Oh my goodness. But let's see what's out there for our Earth sign friends. We'll try to be gentle, Earth signs. We'll try.
We will.
It's not always easy here. All right. Okay, Earth signs. Well, what is or will be making you unhappy right now? My gosh.
So
interesting.
You have a similar situation to our water. Was it the water signs or was the one before the fire signs? You have the devil reverse. What's making you unhappy maybe is the realization that you are removing some things from yourself that maybe were holding you back, and maybe you're trying to figure out why were you in that situation. Maybe you've just come out of some situation that made you codependent or reliant on others. The release, though, from this is making you unhappy because you're trying to figure out why that even happened in the first place, perhaps, or factors adjacent to that.
I mean, you can refresh yourself and go back to the fire signs and see what we said there. But I have a feeling here, Mr. O is on to something with this card saying that, you've been released from something. You may have done it yourself. Oftentimes that's the case with this card. But I have a feeling here this is another release. You've been let go from a relationship. Somebody has dumped you, perhaps. A job has let you go. You are very comfortable here. You don't understand why you have to give this up. And maybe, in a sense, you were a little bit codependent or jaded by this situation you were in.
Status quo.
Sometimes in life, we get very, very comfortable. And
Complacent.
the universe has a way of shaking things up for us and making us and challenging us once more. Don't get too, the moral of the story is don't get too comfortable. And go ahead.
I think it's interesting to note that, of course, the devil normally relates to maybe Capricornian mindset or
True.
signs, and Capricorn is one of the earth signs.
Yeah. And so I feel here that you might have gotten yourself in a position where you felt really good about things, but others decided, I'm sorry, you're just not my cup of tea. You're not working in this company. We have to make cuts or layoffs. Maybe this is a partnership that has gone awry, and it's making you unhappy. So, how are you dealing with the situation right now, or will be? Oh my, are you kidding me?
We both shuffled them.
We did.
But not very well.
It's the second card, and it's come in this position too. Well, again, I often feel there could be other factors, whether it's different planetary aspects, or etc., at play here that causes this to happen. But Judgment reversed, again, I think this is a card about, well, I think that maybe you feel you're dealing with this in a way of passing the buck on others. It's almost as if you're blaming others for the situation you're in, or that there were forces outside your control, karma, fate that just turned against you and has caused this to happen. I think that you're just placing blame here, and you're maybe really going to have to deal with this in a more healthy manner.
Another thought here is that in trying to deal with this, move away from this, that maybe the message you should be getting, you're just sort of in denial of, that maybe this is saying you don't want to see a greater role for yourself. You sort of just want to say, no, this is just, status quo and it'll change. You're refusing to learn a lesson that may be staring you right in the face.
In a sense, you're not rising to the challenge that this presented for you. Instead, you don't want to rebirth yourself. You want this back, but it may not be possible. You have been let go. You have been released.
So, are your feelings justified? And no, it's not another repeat from that reading. It's the Ten of Pentacles.
Oh, interesting.
Reversed.
Your feelings are justified because you staked your future here. This almost does sound like it's either with a relationship, maybe a business that has, slipped through your hands. This could be maybe some financial investments you put everything into that now has, is gone. So I feel here that your feelings are, you feel your feelings are justified because you put a lot into this. You've invested yourself into this, and now it's gone.
These cards really relate to earth signs a lot in a way, because earth signs really are generally more fixated towards practicalities, generally more interested in how they are building things, and or it's just that kind of vibe in general. And so your feelings are justified because you feel something is not building, it's breaking down, and you feel like maybe there's a lot to be lost as this continues.
Okay, well, how are we going to turn this frown upside down?
And it's the High Priestess reversed.
All right, I like it.
This is not bad.
Well,
Totally.
I mean, we try to give the most positive advice out of the cards, even though they're reversed. And with the High Priestess reversed, it talks about this idea that you are disconnected from your inner voice right now, your inner wisdom. And you need to pull that connection back because you're feeling this loss, you're feeling this letting go too strongly, and you're attached to it still. You really want it back. You've invested so much in it that you hate to let it go. But your inner voice might be what brings you back to reality here. And that's what you need right now. You need to face the reality of the situation, listen to what your intuition is trying to tell you, reconnect, and you'll find your way through this. You'll realize you have to grow. You have to let this karma play out for you. You have to recoup and reinvest your energy, your time, your resources elsewhere.
You know, Earth signs, it seems like these cards talk about your ambition, your goals at a theoretical level, and so the disappointment that maybe they're not working out has given you a lot of doubt about things here. But the final card is really saying that theoretical schmeoretical, you got to go with the practical. You got to maybe not think so lofty and dig into what it is you can actually do on that physical level to either right these wrongs, right these perceptions, and move beyond them.
So let's recap here, okay? I feel that this has to do with being released from something you didn't want to be released from. You know, a job, a relationship, maybe even family has disowned you. You know, I can't rule anything out here, but you have been released and you're not happy about it. You weren't ready. You were comfortable where you were. You can't understand why this happened.
Something really connected you to something, but now it has been sundered.
And I think you're blaming, you're going outside yourself and you're blaming others for this predicament. Maybe there's some truth there, but you know, it takes two to tango in a relationship and in anything, you know, in any situation, you have to examine your own role and look at yourself critically, not hypercritically, but critically to figure out what went wrong here. And I'm not sure you're willing to do so. You're not behaving in a healthy manner towards what's happened.
You
here.
may have been thinking that abstract or metaphysics of some sort was the answer to these questions, like what happened was, like Banshee said, outside yourself.
Yeah.
But you're probably going to realize, or you should be realizing, that's not necessarily the case.
All right, and so why are your feelings justified? Because you invested so much of yourself into this. You know, you felt strongly that this was where you needed to be. This provided you stability, comfort, security, and you're very upset that this is now gone from you.
I'll take that.
And ultimately, you have to reconnect with your inner wisdom here.
Yes.
You know, you're in denial right now. Denial's a deep river, and you have to resurface or go under that surface more. Tap into what your intuition is trying to tell you. Quit looking outside for the solutions or the blame. Go within and maybe just stop that whole process. Go within and determine what you need to do now that this is no longer available to you.
This is the third major arcana in the reading for the earth signs, and the major arcana say there are strong forces not only at play around you, but strong forces that can be partnered with you.
Good observation there, Mr. O. That's
Thank
what
you.
we have. Let's move on to the world. Oh, goodness.
The world. Let's shuffle those really good this time. Well, I guess those came out for a reason.
I know, it is very interesting. It was definitely a little bit different. This is the impression that I got from the fire signs.
Alrighty.
I believe that was the fire signs reading, if I'm right about that. I didn't move there. Give it one more shuffle. Hey,
What?
Talking to the cards.
Oh, are they talking back?
Well, we're arguing about where I should grab them to do my ruffle. Here you go. Talking to my deck. All right, okay, where does it hurt in the world affairs? A lot of times we relate this to the U.S. Hey, we can't help it. There's so much hurt right now here, but many places in the world are hurting right now. So let's see what we get this time.
It's not possible that from that geographic point of view that we could pinpoint everything going on. This may sum up maybe the more major feelings and or the more major consensus of that.
You yourself may have a way to interpret, or take what we are saying and interpret it towards the conditions you are facing. in your neck of the woods.
Because at the end of the day, the tarot is universal. It is a universal collection of symbols that the human mind can relate to. So maybe you will find what you need in that.
But I still haven't found
what will be
what
making
I'm
the world
looking
unhappy.
for. Sorry, don't I get to sing? I like that he interrupts my singing. I'm going to do that all
But
the
you
time.
still
Now I
haven't
am
found
very unhappy.
the note you're trying to sing.
How are you going to turn my frown upside down?
Done.
Well, looks like the world is not doing that badly this cycle. The sun is reversed, which means to me that things maybe look, as far as it goes, what is or will be making you unhappy is maybe not totally achieving everything that we've wanted to in a situation, but things are definitely not as bad as they seem. And I can't help but wonder if this isn't about the political situation in the U.S. right now, because, well, for example, with the Democratic Party, which had to make a major shift in their candidate for office, where President Biden has left office, and we had to switch candidates to Kamala.
Well, he left the campaign.
He left the campaign, and he passed the torch to Kamala Harris, who is the front runner for delegates right now. But, until the convention, nothing's decided completely. And so it might be indicating that, well, you've still got some ground to catch up to, but there's been so much enthusiasm and optimism and money coming in that things are looking pretty good. So it's one of those situations that's good, it's perfect for that card. It's really interesting to me.
Yeah, when we're talking about the world, like we just said a few moments back, is like we can't possibly contain one opinion that suits the whole world. But this could be saying that in general, most things are not so bad. Maybe there's a little bit of darkness, but the sun is still there.
The sun is still there. So what is making us hurt is maybe we want more good things in life than we're getting worldwide. Maybe there's a little bit of a reprieve, a respite from some of the stuff going on. Maybe some areas of the world are getting a little break in some of the serious climate disasters, for example, that have been going on. And it's time to get into recovery mode more and maybe prep for the future. I think that this is a card of a little bit of a respite right now in a number of areas. We're not seeing it completely in Gaza at all. We're not seeing it in Ukraine at this time, but maybe other areas of the world are experiencing this right now.
So how are we going to be dealing with this in the world?
Well, why are we so blue? Maybe I feel here, how are we dealing with this? It seems like we're more pessimistic and disappointed and depressed than we need to be. Maybe we should realize here that we should be capitalizing on what little successes we see and trying to magnify them rather than feeling the lack here or the sense of, well, it's still bad for me personally. Maybe you need to get out of that thought pattern and think about what's good for everybody at this time.
There's emotional dis-ease with this card here. And maybe as a kind of consensus, it sums up the idea that many people in the world emotionally are not on the same page. There's differing emotions, bubbling emotions about the status of the world. It may relate to that. It just may relate to their own personal sense of what's going on in the world now.
And since I brought up the political thing, I have to say again, I can see this card fitting in perfectly there. There are people who aren't happy with this change in the Democratic Party, including people in the Republican Party who are unhappy that they are not dealing with, they're disappointed that Biden dropped out because they thought they could defeat him better than maybe another candidate. And in the Democratic Party, there are people who are maybe unsettled with the candidate that has been anointed to move forward, and maybe they want other options. So I'm just throwing that out there, and again, it gives you an idea of how you might be able to relate this to conditions in your own neck of the woods.
So card 3, are the world's feelings justified?
Wow. Did you see it?
Nope.
Oh boy. Now you're going to see why it does relate to the political situation.
Are our feelings justified? There are people who feel no matter what side of the coin they're on, or the many sides of the dice they're on, that nothing's going to work.
That I think here your feelings you feel are justified because even little successes feel meaningless to you right now. You feel there are no real winners here. There's just loss. It just seems like continuing steps back or losing ground. But that it's really that even the winners are losing too.
And of course, this could be especially poignant for trouble spots in the world. I won't mention them, but there are a number of trouble spots in the world where there's either military actions going on, or there are other grave concerns, that relate to starvation or pestilence or inequities.
And back to my political example, this is so clear. Feelings are justified because everybody feels like there could be no winners here. No matter who wins this election, sometimes people feel, well, it's not going to make a bloody difference in the way things are. There are no winners, there are no losers. There's a lot of people who feel real despondent right now about the way things are heading in the world and in their countries right now, and including in the U.S. That there's such a big divide that no matter who wins and who loses, not much is going to change.
And yet consistently in American voting at this level, presidential level, about 1/3 of voters don't vote. They just decide they're not going to vote.
How can we turn this frown upside down?
And it's another queen, and it's the Queen of Pentacles, but she is reversed. The Queen of Pentacles can be a minor avatar of the Empress. So the idea maybe of saying this is a time to go into yourself and look for what you can do to be creative. That you may have to look a little bit harder. The Queen of Pentacles upright is effortlessly creative. But maybe this is saying what we have to do is go deep into ourselves and find creative solutions in our own backyards, in our own countries, in our own areas of Congress, where we can try to make a change, project creativity, beauty, protection, all those attributes that kind of line up with Pentacles.
The Queen of Pentacles reversed can also be somebody who is very morose and melancholy. And so I feel here, and also there's just so many things. There's so many things I can say about this card in this position. So how do you turn this around? By not wallowing in depression.
Defeat.
We have the Queen of Cups here too reversed, right? So seeing these two queens reversed.
Don't pile it on.
Don't pile it on. In other words, don't flounder here. This is not a time to get stuck. To get stuck with, allow your emotions to get you so stuck that you can't find a creative solution to the problems we face. That you can't see the positive that may be here underlying all of this. And also, this is, if it's relating to other countries and us as well, I think this is also relating to how money is involved with what we're involved with. We'll get to that in a minute with the political situation. But also money, the bad management of money, maybe the bad misuse of money, not having enough money and resources. We need to put more money at the problem or take money out of the problem.
Sometimes I see some of the queens as sort of the shadow side of the king, the person who's able to do things that aren't necessarily noticed the same way the king would do that. They have a cover. And so this could be saying that this is a time for things to be done that could actually be a benefit, but they won't necessarily be noticed or aggrandized in the same way. It may be a softer projection of those abilities.
So, interesting stuff. If I go with my political one again for the U.S., which I really think this reading fits perfectly, first thing that comes to mind, and unfortunately I know it's not going to happen in this election, is money needs to get removed from politics. Nothing good happens with all the money that's in politics until we all come to that realization and our politicians are willing to stop being controlled by money, and by the money people. Let's face it, this change between Biden and, for whatever reasons, however you feel about this, money people were behind this change. As soon as the money started drying up and money people said, I want something else, I want someone else, and then they looked at the polls, they decided they had to shift gears. Personally, Biden might have been able to win, even if he was further behind than Kamala seems to be in the polls. But with all the money controlling the flow of things, we'll never know. And the bottom line is that even in Kamala's case, she now needs all that money and support that's coming in because she's been thrown into this race so late. If we got the money out of politics, I feel we would get better candidates, we'd have better choices, we'd have more people willing to run for office, and we'd have less special interests controlling our lives.
Woohoo.
That's my spin. All right, let's recap it.
Sure.
You go, Mr. O.
Okay, cool. This is our longest unhappy hour ever, by the way.
Okay, well, we did dawdle on some of the cards. I thought the first one was tight. But...
So what is making us unhappy right now is maybe the realization that we just don't have everything exactly right. The sun reversed is maybe almost as good as the sun, but maybe this is saying we just don't have everything we want, or we don't see that happening.
Are we just never satisfied? Are we just never satisfied?
This is the world, though, remember.
Well, that goes into, that is the world. So are people in the world just never satisfied?
There's
you
a lot
want
of people.
more. Things maybe aren't as bad as they seem, but we're making them out to be worse than they are, perhaps. And that goes with the political stuff, too, that I mentioned. So, were things that bad with Biden? He made a lot of great changes. He was a great president, and everybody said that now. And he sacrificed his term for the good of the country over party too, and his own ambition.
So how are we dealing with all this?
How are we dealing with this? Well, we're very depressed. We're allowing our emotions to get the better of us here. We could be angry in some ways about not having what we want in life. And sometimes maybe that's a little bit too selfish and self-serving, and we need to be a little bit more, we need to deal with this more on a collective level and recognizing that the good of all should trump the good of one.
There's a whole flow of emotional excess that could be happening here. And a lot of times the Queen of Cups can also talk about people who get overly imaginative and maybe borrow misfortune, or whatever you want to call that term, whistling past the graveyard. The idea that they're drawing the negativity to them because they can't, release these thoughts in a better way.
So, are the world's feelings justified? Well, I don't know how justified they are. I think it's kind of defeatist because we feel there are no winners. Even the winners, and we realize here that even those that come out on top are losers too. Because when we're all have an aggressive or ego-driven mentality here, nobody wins. Nobody wins.
And if this is going to have that political spin, it reminds me of the old song by Simon and Garfunkel. Laugh about it, shout about it. When you've got to choose, any way you look at it, you lose. People may be feeling that way.
So ultimately, let's try not to wallow in the state of melancholy. Let's try to focus on what little successes have happened and are out there and move them forward. Move them forward. Instead of being part of the problem or wallowing in the problems, be a part of the solution. And the solution isn't always throwing money at things. The solution might be taking money out of things or using money in an appropriate manner that bolsters everyone, not just special interests.
I think it's always worthy to think about the security aspects
Well,
of
that's nice
the
too.
Pentacles
Yeah.
too, and that what it is we need to make everyone secure, not just those who seem to think the most of themselves. All right.
That's what we have for the world and everybody this time around.
Yay, we are
So
through.
Mr. O has reminded me that we are grossly into overtime, so I'm just going to wrap by saying, be happy. Be happy. Turn those frowns upside down. Work through these challenges. You can do it. We can do it. And we will see you again at the next turn of the fourth quarter moon. Bye for now. We will see you soon.
Take
Take
care.
care.